Disneyland's Matterhorn Mountain is easily one of the largest flagship attractions of the park. It's one of the oldest rides, and is certainly the largest ride from a physical standpoint. It's a common misconception that the Matterhorn opened along with Disneyland. In fact, Disneyland had been open for 4 years by the time the Matterhorn was finished on June 4th, 1959. The question is, if there was no Matterhorn back then, what was there before it? And that's exactly what we'll be covering in today's extended episode of Disneyland Fun Facts. Enjoy the video. When Disneyland first opened in 1955, the park was largely undeveloped, with only 14 open attractions. Due to budget restrictions, a few of the lands, such as Tomorrowland, were still mostly under construction on opening day, and wouldn't be entirely finished for another 1 to 2 years. One particular area that was completely undeveloped was the area around Matterhorn and It's a Small World that is a part of Fantasyland today. You see, while the Sleeping Beauty Castle was being built, the dirt that had been excavated to make the foundation had been moved to this area, which had created a pretty sizable hill right in the eventual site of the Matterhorn. They did this because moving the dirt out of the park would have been incredibly expensive at the time. So they just decided to move the dirt into an undeveloped area that they had no plans for. That's right. At the time, this portion of the land was completely vacant and there were no plans to use this area until later. When the park first opened, a fence was put around the hill to keep guests from scaling it, which didn't really stop anybody because, I mean, look at it. At first, the hill was almost entirely dirt, and sometimes when the winds would pick up, it would spread dust all over the park, so landscapers were hired to add some vegetation. Sometime later, as there were no plans for the area, Walt Disney and his Imagineers decided to do something with the hill. So, the fence around the perimeter was removed, some walkways were added along with some park benches, as well as a bit more vegetation. The hill also got a name, Holiday Hill. And nobody really knows why that is, because it didn't really have anything to do with holidays. This was also around the time that the Skyway attraction had opened, which would pass over Holiday Hill, reaching its tallest point. In addition to some of the walkways and park benches that were added, the route that the Main Street vehicles would normally take was extended to include a road around the hill. Now let's take a second to imagine that. The horseless carriages, double-decker buses, and other Main Street vehicles that drive around Main Street actually used to travel as far as Fantasyland back in the day. At the time, the plans for this hill were a bit more ambitious, as originally Walt Disney wanted the hill to be an extension of the Casey Jr. Circus Train and Storybook Land Canal Boats attractions, which would go around and through the hill respectively. This area would be known as Rock Candy Mountain, and the hill would be redressed to include giant lollipops and rock candy springing out of the grounds, which were planned to be made out of real candy, kinda like that scene in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This idea was eventually scrapped, as a lot of the Imagineers thought that the ride would be too unappealing to guests. In fact, Disney legend and Imagineer John Hench, the same guy who designed multiple of the original attractions at Disneyland, as well as others like the Disneyland Monorail, Space Mountain, Submarine Voyage, said that the Rock Candy Mountain idea would be sickly to a lot of guests and was a tummy ache waiting to happen. So instead, Holiday Hill was born. Walt wasn't done yet, however. At first, Walt wanted to build a Wild Mouse-style roller coaster on Holiday Hill. For those of you who don't know, a Wild Mouse coaster is a roller coaster that features single cars that traverse a tight track layout with very sharp and unbanked turns. An example of one today would be Goofy's Sky School in Disney California Adventure, or maybe the Technic Test Track in Legoland. The Wild Mouse coaster idea eventually grew to be too small for Walt Disney's imagination. At the time, Walt had been filming his upcoming movie, Third Man on the Mountain, a movie that took place in the Swiss Alps, and features the real-life Matterhorn Mountain, which would eventually inspire Disneyland's Matterhorn attraction. Oh yeah, and by the way, remember how I said that the Skyway attraction reached its tallest point on Holiday Hill? Well, instead of rerouting the Skyway, the Matterhorn was actually built around it, and that's why the Skyway actually ran through the Matterhorn until its closure in 1994. Comment down below if you'd like to see the return of an attraction like Holiday Hill at Disneyland. Other than that, guys, that is all I have for you wonderful people today. It would be absolutely amazing if you guys subscribe to the channel. Also, if you are interested in gaming content, I do have a gaming channel called Pillowy Flunky 9 that I will leave a link to in the description, as well as in the top right corner that you'll probably see in a second. Anyway, I'm the Space Mountaineer. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.